Hello and welcome again to this edition of Meet the Candidates 2020 on WCMU. I'm David Nicholas, this year speaking with our guests virtually and welcoming this time Jerry Hilliard. He is the Democratic candidate for the race for Michigan's 4th U.S. Congressional District. Congratulations on the primary win in August, and in our first minute or two, a little bit about you, your background, and the experience that you bring to the campaign.
Okay, I am a lifelong resident of the 4th District of Michigan, except for a few years here and there, but I've lived most of my life here. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree from Central Michigan University, and I have a MBA from the University of Michigan Flint. I teach economics at Lansing Community College and Mid-Michigan College. I live here in Mount Pleasant, and I enjoy the 4th District. And I feel like we can do a lot better in the 4th District than we've done in the past. And that's why I'm running for U.S. Congress.
And with those ideas of doing better, as you stated, the ideas that the voters have been sharing with you and that you as candidate have identified on the campaign trail, what do you see as the key issues in this campaign?
Well, I think the key issue is our future. The 2020 election is about our future, and our economic system is out of balance. We need to fix it, and the way we do that is to rebuild the middle class. In the last 40 years as a nation, we have created more wealth than probably any nation in the history of the world. The richest man is worth over $170 billion, and at his current pace will be a trillionaire in less than 10 years. However, most people have been left behind. And not just the people who have always been left behind, racial and ethnic minorities, LGBTQ plus, poor people, and today, especially young people of all types. The opportunities just don't seem to be the same today as they were when I graduated from college. We had many more opportunities. So when we had a strong middle class, the vast majority of people prospered, and they had hope for the future. Today, that's not the case. Low wages and high debt is the norm, and for too many people. The war on unions has decimated the buying power of working families. Without strong unions, the middle class has a little chance of a resurgence. The recent pandemic has proven again that consumers are a major part of our economy. In fact, consumer spending is 2/3 of GDP. That is why the stimulus package worked pretty darn well for our country, the first one we had after the pandemic. And because consumers are such a major part. We talk about businesses and wanting to make sure businesses are profitable, but without customers, businesses aren't profitable. And the reason it was so successful is because what economists call the multiplier effect of spending, which means when a dollar is spent, it is respent many times over. And each time it is spent, someone gets something else for it, right? In 1 year, each dollar is spent has much more impact on the economy than $1. And here's the reason why the stimulus was so effective. The lower the income of a person, the faster it gets spent. And so it starts creating inventory because you spend money, stores have to replenish inventory, they have to hire more people, they have to pay wages, and the money circulates through the economy. When you give a big tax break to a big corporation, that doesn't happen. We've been stimulating the economy for so long from the top down. We need to start stimulating our economy from the bottom up. And that's the way that we'll rebuild the middle class. Many people no longer can afford health care, a good education, or a place to live that is a safe, clean environment. Our economy has many problems. They can all be fixed. We have had a more fair and equal economy in the past, and we can do it again. Income inequality is the challenge of our time, but it doesn't have to be that way.
How do we take
we rebuild?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, if we rebuild the middle class, our economy will come back. Okay?
And how do we take then the principles of how the stimulus package was put together, how it was framed, how it was structured, and the impact that it had, and take the elements of that? What do you propose how we turn that into more permanent and forward-thinking policy to get back to some of those economic principles you say have been lost in this present day?
Well, a stimulus package should only last as long as the economy hasn't recovered yet. Once the economy recovers, then you need to take the stimulus away. We took away the stimulus, but I don't think the economy has recovered all the way yet. The last few days, some huge companies have laid off a lot of people. I think Disney laid off 20,000 people or something like that recently. We're certainly not ready for our economy to function the way it normally does yet. We need to do another stimulus package, and we need to do it as soon as we can. There's a lot of other ways that we can make our economy better. A fair tax system where large corporations pay their share of the taxes is a good place to start. Many corporations don't even pay any net taxes. And some even have positive cash flow from the U.S. government through subsidies. We should not subsidize corporations that do not at least pay a living wage and benefits also. The minimum wage should be a living wage indexed to inflation and include health care. The only way we increase our standard of living is to have wages grow faster than prices. That seems like it might be hard to do, but it's really not. Because no company's total costs are all labor. So if a company's cost of labor is 50% of total costs, labor goes up 2%, total costs have only gone up 1%, and therefore they don't have to raise their prices a full 2%. That's how wages grow faster than prices. We need to be able to do that again. We also have a great opportunity ahead of us in investing in green technology. When government invests in productive things, it is not just a cost, it's an investment. It returns money back to the economy. I'm a baby boomer. They invested heavily in my education, the generation before me, the World War II generation. In my education and many others in my generation. We're not investing that kind of money in education. And one of the things we need to do is educate people on green technology. Green technology not only helps our environment, but will create the kind of good paying jobs our state and our country, our nation need to rebuild the middle class.
Well, if we look at the idea then of how this can translate into some of the specifics on the economy, and you talked about the emphasis on green technology, how education can be geared around that. You mentioned that the living wage should include health care. To bring all these then into a specific set of policies, what might be the priority of which you would want to implement first, and how you see this in a timeline to fundamentally change, as you were outlining, the way our economy is structured?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is to restructure our tax system so it's more fair. I teach economics, and I looked it up about 2011, and General Electric had $4 billion in positive cash flow from the U.S. government. That's one of the biggest corporations in the world. We don't need that. We don't need a tax system that benefits the people who are already doing well off and the corporations that are already doing well off. We need to do something about healthcare. My preference is Medicare for all. It's a very efficient system. Medicare is funded by a separate tax on income of 1.45% on workers and the same amount on employers. Add in some extra money from Medicaid, which supplements low-income seniors, and it's roughly 6% of income to provide health care for people it's roughly 3% of income to provide health care for over 65, which people over 65 by law of nature are the sickest people, correct? And so therefore they're the most expensive group to cover. So while our total health care bill for everyone is about 16% of income, and yet we're taking care of the sickest group of people for about 3%, there's something wrong in the math there. Plus, many people over 65 spend hundreds times more money on healthcare after they turn 65 than they have their entire lives. We'll be able to lower the cost of healthcare significantly by using this proven, efficient system. By adding another 3% of income to make it a total of 6 instead of 16%. That's a huge saving. That's a 10% savings of income to the United States. And all that money could be used for better purposes. And, you know, when we have that can be spent on many, many other things, which goes back to what I started with. When consumers have money, we're 66% of GDP is consumers. When we have money, businesses will thrive. But we've had 40 years of wages not growing as fast as prices for the most part. And we need to change that, and we need to change it in a hurry.
In our last minute then, if we look at how with these policies to shift the economic priorities, shift the imbalance as you've identified it in healthcare, and the timeline you talked about in terms of addressing the fair tax as a first concern, a final message then that you would want to leave with the voters as they get set to go to the polls, to capsulize the look at the issues and put that into a final message as they get set to vote, what would that message be?
Well, one thing we have to do, or pretty much all the rest of the stuff doesn't matter that much, and that's fix the climate crisis. And I think fixing the climate crisis will produce a lot of jobs and a lot of income for people. So I think it's a two-headed sword. It can do both things. It can fix the environment and it can help fix the economy. If we can do that, we'll be on our way to back to what we used to be, when everybody could prosper and have hope for the future and plan for the future and have a good education, have a clean environment. We used to have that. There's no reason why we can't have it again.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time in addressing not only questions from us, but also having a chance to talk directly to the voters in the 4th District you hope to represent. We hope that you'll stay safe and good luck the rest of the way on the campaign. We're wishing that for all in this time of COVID-19. And thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be on WCMU. I've watched it for a long, long time.
Appreciate that as well. We have been speaking with Jerry Hilliard, Democratic candidate for Michigan's 4th U.S. Congressional District, one of the challengers in that race this year. Under Michigan law, we have invited all qualifying candidates to participate in this series and be watching for our programs as they continue to come your way. Thanks again for your time and attention now, and please remember to get out and vote Tuesday, November 3rd.